The night Daniel Carter's life broke apart began with an act of kindness so ordinary that he never imagined it would cost him everything. Rain smeared the city lights into trembling streaks, and the parking lot outside the office building was nearly empty when he noticed his boss, Eleanor Whitmore, slumped in her car, keys dropped somewhere between the seat and the floor, her strength lost to a quiet, dangerous kind of drunken exhaustion. Daniel was a single father, a man whose days were measured in school lunches packed before sunrise and exhaustion hidden behind polite smiles, and he could not walk away from someone clearly unable to get home safely. That single decision, made in the dark with no witnesses and no expectations, would follow him into the next morning like a shadow that never let go. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet good people do when no one is watching, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Daniel had not planned to stay late that night, but overtime was a necessity, not a choice. Since his wife passed away 3 years earlier, life had become a careful balancing act of bills, grief, and raising his 8-year-old daughter Lily on a salary that barely stretched far enough. Eleanor Whitmore was known throughout the company as brilliant, distant, and impossible to read, a woman who had climbed to the top through sheer discipline and iron control. Seeing her like that, undone and vulnerable, unsettled Daniel deeply. He drove her to her townhouse in silence, guiding her carefully inside, placing a blanket over her on the couch, and leaving before the weight of the moment could grow heavier. There was no triumph in his kindness, only relief that she was safe and a quiet hope that no one would ever need to know. Morning arrived without mercy. Daniel woke before dawn, as always, to make breakfast and braid Lily's hair while she half slept at the kitchen table. He carried the exhaustion of the night before like an extra coat, heavy and suffocating, but he said nothing. Work that day felt tense, charged with an energy he could not name. People whispered. Emails stopped arriving. Meetings were cancelled without explanation. Then the call came, summoning him to Eleanor's office. His heart thudded against his ribs as he walked down the hallway, every step echoing louder than it should have, every second stretching longer than the last. Eleanor looked different in the daylight. Composed, sharp, and distant once again, she studied Daniel with eyes that held something unreadable. She asked him a single question, spoken quietly, carefully, as if testing the ground beneath them. It was not an accusation, not a thank you, but something far more devastating. She wanted to know why he had helped her, and whether he had told anyone what he had seen. That question cracked open a fear Daniel did not know he carried. In a world where power shaped truth, kindness could be twisted into something dangerous. He realized in that moment how fragile his life truly was, how easily a rumor or misunderstanding could destroy his job, his reputation, and his daughter's future. The days that followed were a slow unraveling. Daniel was placed on leave pending an internal review, a phrase that sounded harmless but felt like a verdict. Whispers grew louder. Friends at work avoided his eyes. The income he relied on vanished overnight, replaced by sleepless nights and unopened bills. Lily sensed the change immediately, clinging closer, asking questions he did not know how to answer. Daniel sold his old watch, then his spare tools, then anything that could buy groceries for another week. Pride became a luxury he could no longer afford. He kept replaying that night in his mind, wondering if doing nothing would have been safer, if kindness was a mistake the world punished without hesitation. Eleanor, meanwhile, faced a reckoning of her own. The company board questioned her leadership after learning of her condition that night, and for the first time in years, she was forced to confront the isolation she had built around herself. She reviewed the security footage, the timelines, the facts stripped of rumor and fear, and saw the truth with painful clarity. Daniel had done nothing wrong. He had done something rare. He had chosen decency without expecting reward. That realization unsettled her more than any accusation ever could. Weeks passed, heavy and slow. Daniel's savings ran dry, and the strain carved lines into his face that no amount of rest could smooth away. Yet even in the darkest moments, he never spoke bitterly in front of Lily. He read her bedtime stories with the same warmth, packed her lunches with the same care, and held her when nightmares came. In loving his daughter, he found a reason to keep going even when hope felt foolish. One afternoon, as he waited in a crowded unemployment office, his phone rang. The number on the screen made his breath catch. The resolution came quietly, without applause or spectacle. The investigation cleared Daniel completely, and Eleanor issued a formal apology, one that carried weight not because of its words, but because of the actions that followed. Daniel was reinstated with back pay, promoted into a role that recognized his integrity, and given flexibility that allowed him to be present for his daughter in ways he never had before. More importantly, the story that had nearly destroyed him became one that changed the culture around him. People spoke openly about compassion, about accountability, about the courage it takes to do the right thing when it would be easier to walk away. Eleanor never became sentimental, but something in her shifted. She sought help, rebuilt her life with intention, and learned to see the people around her not as tools or obstacles, but as human beings with struggles as real as her own. Daniel never forgot the fear of those weeks, but he also never forgot the lesson carved into his soul. Kindness can cost you everything, but it can also give you more than you ever imagined. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of a time you chose kindness even when it hurt, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe. Your engagement helps keep stories like Daniel's alive for others who need them. Before this story ends, tell us in the comments what kindness means to you and whether you believe it always finds its way back. Years later, Daniel would look back on that rainy night not as the moment his life shattered, but as the moment it truly began, when he learned that doing the right thing does not guarantee safety, but it does give life meaning, and sometimes, meaning is the only thing strong enough to carry us through the storm.